We are joined today by Ollie and Matt, two amazing human beings that just happen to know a heck of a lot around SEO, and that's what we're unpacking. So, when we were bouncing around a bunch of ideas for today's session, we thought let's just throw it out there to the world, see what questions we get, and just do our best to answer those questions. First question. What is SEO? We thought we'd start with the basics, huh?
Yeah,
If
great
someone
question.
stopped you in the street,
Mm.
Ollie, how would you describe SEO?
I think first starting off with the what it actually means. So search engine optimization. On a general level, basically you're just improving a website's visibility and
Yep.
organic rankings for the search results page. So basically just you want to come up for not only brand name, but all of the keywords and services that you provide. You want to be coming up first for that. So you're just improving the website to do that through on-site and off-site SEO techniques, which we won't go into too much depth, but basically just two different components of SEO. And then I also often describe it as an inexpensive and effective digital marketing strategy. So quite cost effective, especially compared to some other ones, and just more of that long-term strategy as well.
Yep. And here is an example. So searching on SEO Gold Coast in
Mm-hmm.
Google. We happen to know a little bit about SEO and hold that number one position at the moment, specifically here at the Gold Coast. So then we've got this map pack,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see that we're featured there and there as well. Um, so depending on the search results, you might get some ads that appear up here at the top as well. Um, and the anatomy of those search engine results page will change depending on that. But that is a very simplistic example of what is SEO. Matt, you got anything to add to that?
No, I think it's probably the most common question you get asked at like family lunches and stuff like that. Hey,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
actually do?
Bit of barbecue
Yeah. What
talk.
is
Yeah.
SEO?
Yeah.
And yeah, it really is just that, isn't it? Trying to make yourself show up more often.
Cool. All right. So that's SEO. Matt, if someone says, why should I do SEO? I'm a business owner. Why should I invest in SEO? How would you answer that?
I think it's kind of like Ollie covered, like super cost effective. It takes, there's a bit of a long ramp up to get there and be visible online, but it lasts a long time as well, making it, yeah, a super effective source of traffic and leads. The other important thing is obviously your competition is doing it. You don't want to get left behind. Every day they're putting more and more effort into it. So every day you're not, they're building up
Mm.
and sort of coming up as well. And not only just that, but like adding SEO flair to a website isn't just good for Google crawlers and stuff like that. It's actually good for users as well. So every piece of
Mm.
content and stuff like that you write for a site, it benefits your average user as well. So
So doing a bit of an experience share here, putting my business owner hat on. Um, we've been investing in SEO since 2014. That's making me sound very old here, Matt. 10 years. And you can see like this is our site here. This is a tool called SEM Rush. And you can see like it was a super slow burn. For many, many years. I published a book, put a heap of content on our site. It's a bit haphazard, got better structure. Things really kicked off. This was probably not a sustainable set of results from the traffic that was coming through. Took a big dip. That probably hurt. Then you can see, and this here is there like a keyword coverage as well. So there's direct correlation between the two graphs. But you can sort of see here, like off the back of SEO, it's almost 5,000 uniques every single month through the site. And this is a big source of leads and inquiries for 5x5, which has been 10 years in the making. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's just, as you said, it's an opportunity cost by not doing it. And there's real just sort of time in the market. Yeah. So then this sort of ties in, which flows nicely around when would we expect to see results?
Mm.
What do you
Yeah,
reckon, boys?
I think this one, the answer to this, you're going to get to a lot of questions that we're going to get asked today. And it really does depend. It depends on so many things. How big is the site? Where are you located? Where's the site located? What industry are you in? Have you done any SEO before or any other digital marketing strategies? How competitive is the industry as well? Are you a competition? Have they been investing heavily? What are the keywords you're trying to rank for? All this different stuff is going to influence that. But if I had to answer that question and give like a rough average on like most of the sites we deal with, probably around that 3 to 6 month mark. But again, it is very case by case. So we'd have to look at that website and really give more of an educated answer, but generally around that 3 to 6 month mark.
For sure. Even like B2B, e-com, basic service-based businesses, everything like that, definitely.
Yeah.
Heaps of different variables.
Here was a screenshot so this is a lawyer's website up there in Brisbane. And they're I think they're specific in the criminal law space. They had an existing site, but the site just wasn't that great. And then we redid the site, put in the correct sort of architecture and content, on-site optimization, all that sort of stuff. And then you can sort of fast forward. When was that? Almost a year ago now. The march forward has been a really, really positive one in terms of keyword coverage and then the traffic that comes off the back of that.
Yeah, and again, so that's that result is again case by case because that's a new website with laid in SEO. So that first little spike you see probably a few months after launch in January, that's going to be definitely from the new site laid with the SEO, and then the continuous increase is just that consistent SEO. So yeah, again, very case by case to answer that question.
And these guys, they had an existing site, didn't they?
Yes, they had an existing site. We just rebranded it and put in a lot of SEO work to each page to make sure that it did that.
And I think we typically get this question a lot. I think when it's like a brand new site out there to the world, and that's obviously that can be sometimes, I guess, a bit tougher, and that's where you've got to work a bit harder because it's almost like making friends with Google and building that trust and that rapport with the algorithm. So yeah, that's I think with a newer site. Yeah, that's where you get maybe differences in terms of the impact straight out of the box that SEO can have. What's the best way I can improve my SEO as a client? This is a really cool question.
There's a lot of things that are out of the hands of obviously the SEO team. So a lot of the things like the Google reviews make a huge difference, particularly with local SEO. Other than that, there's a few like local citations and stuff like that we can't really reach out to. So for instance, some lawyers can be added up to local government sites and stuff like that, like local council and things like that, because they operate in that area. As well as obviously we can throw out the casting net of leads, but we might not be able to help you convert them or know which ones are calling the phone. So that's when you can sort of keep us in the loop, let us know what's working, which industries to target and which aren't. And then, yeah, just helping us sort of populate the website too. Like you guys are the expert in your industry. So helps out with some extra articles and stuff like that too.
Yeah. And I think the whole thing with content is it is limitless in terms of what you can be doing. So definitely that content piece is part of like our services and SEO packages. Like we're doing content for our clients. But it doesn't mean you just have to do that. Like you can be creating more content, your team can be internally doing that. And obviously working in with our SEO team, we can give guidance in and around like the on-site optimization, how that aligns to the overarching strategy, beefing out existing content through like FAQs to say you've got a bunch of service-based pages. They can be further deepened through FAQs, all that sort of stuff. So like it's limitless in terms of what you can be doing. And I think it just needs to be generally project managed by someone who's driving the strategy. Can we stop and start SEO as needed? What do you reckon, guys?
It's possible. You definitely can.
Anything's possible.
Is it advised? Probably not. Consistent SEO is always going to outperform ad hoc SEO. And this is another question that we get quite a lot. People ask, can we just pause it for a couple of months? Like you can, but it's just not advised because, again, competition around you is going to be consistently doing theirs.
Mm.
And then the longer you pause, it's just going to be harder to get back to it. So, yeah, I think the idea is we're just going to pause and then start it again in a couple of months, but it just doesn't really work like that. You're just going to start from way further back, which is, yeah, in my view, maybe a waste of money. So, yeah, definitely not advice.
I think on that as well, not only do competition keep moving, but the Google algorithm keeps changing too. So as soon as you sort of hit a pause on it, Google keeps moving and you kind of get left in the dust a little bit.
Yeah, and we see this where like you've maybe, we've been building sites for 20 years. We built sites, delivered, like 10 years ago, and they performed really, really well. Absolutely, crushed it from an SEO perspective. But then there was never really any intentional SEO done thereafter. And you sort of fast forward, 7 or 8 years, and it's just been this sort of steady decline over time. So yeah, like, and I think just going back to your previous points, it's time in the market. So like, just if you're not doing it, then like you're moving forward or you're going backwards. There's no, you're just going to stagnate if you're not investing that. And that's also like a loss in focus as well, generally, just from a marketing or, a business or a sales perspective. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on that. Are there any guarantees when it comes to SEO?
The cursed word.
What do you reckon, guys?
Probably the only guarantee would be maybe ranking for your brand name. And even then, it's like not 100% guaranteed. So that's why I think we said to an extent, yes. But generally, anyone or any agency that's guaranteeing any sort of results probably shouldn't be trusted because there's no way they can know that for fact. You could go off their historical results that they've got with their clients. And that's what we'll use a lot of the time. But to say that we can guarantee a site X, Y, or Z, it's definitely not to be trusted. But like I said, follow the process, stay the course, and the results will show up. And that's the big thing as well. So just making sure the work's getting done from on-site SEO. So you're getting content on the website, headings are changing, meta titles and descriptions are changing, off-site SEO is happening. So you're getting backlinks through to the website, your local service business, Google business profile, all these other things. Just ensure you're doing that all correctly and the rankings will come.
I've been on the front end of that where maybe like managing expectations of salespeople. So this old chestnut of salespeople promising things potentially that always can't always be fulfilled on. And we see this maybe with a lot of our competitors where it's just like, guaranteed page one listings or whatever. And it's sort of like, well, you can't do that. Like there are no guarantees around this. All we can do is just like follow our tried and tested process in and around good site architecture and build. That's founded around, the keyword research and identifying what are the opportunities that are getting typed into Google for specific products or services, making sure then the content is optimized for those. And then generally the results should show up. So, and I think, our roles, or my role potentially the front end of that process is all about managing expectations and trusting in the process. This is a good one. What is the best local SEO strategy for a service business with one office servicing a broad area? Great question.
If you're adapting a local SEO strategy for a business servicing a broad area, maybe it's best to adapt both a local SEO strategy and a not local SEO strategy. I think particularly if you service or can service a broad area, it's better to think long term. Future-proof it in a sense that if you're building out location pages and stuff like that, don't go straight for the suburbs. Build it, in a structure that makes sense. Go for Queensland, Brisbane, Fortitude Valley, something like that. Just so you sort of have that way that makes sense, not just for Google and stuff like that, but for consumers too. As well as that, optimize your Google business profile. I think you can set it as just a service area in most cases. So that's probably the best way to do it, just to make sure you can show up in the little local map pack for a broad range of areas. You can set up separate Google business profiles, but it can be really tough to sort of get it to work if you don't have a physical presence in the areas. So I think even like PO boxes and stuff like that used to be possible. So in a way you could pay for a business profile in that area, but you
Yeah.
can't do that anymore, I don't believe.
Yes, I agree with all that. Like when we were chatting about this, one strategy we worked really hard with our GBP, Google Business Profile, is through our Google reviews. And really, like this is the social proof that brings in a lot of work through our door. And we've worked really hard to extract these Google reviews from our clients. And when we do ask for these Google reviews, we ask that potentially the clients could include some really nice, juicy keywords that just generally help in and around getting us found for our related products and services. So SEO, Google Ads, website development, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's a hot little tip there that typically
And just
works
on that
really,
as
really well.
well, you
Yeah.
probably sometimes it's tough to ask for keywords quotes. So sometimes it's just asking for them to leave what service was provided. So that's often what we do. And that in turn gets keywords on your profile. Is a good way to go about that when asking for those reviews.
The key takeaway on that one is to just, if you do service a wide area, don't focus too much on the little areas to start. Think big. And then, to get a few wins early, then you can start to look at the individual sort of spaces.
Yeah, cool. Big fan of these location-based landing pages as well, especially if you're running Google Ads. You can use those as hyper-targeted local landing pages for AdWords campaigns as well that you're running, depending on, if like a service-based business or whatever. So they tend to work really well. How do I measure SEO success? Because this is the cool thing around digital, as opposed to say like media advertising or whatever. We can actually see where traffic is coming from, what people are typing in, and how these leads are generated. How do we measure success with our clients?
So we do custom reports for our clients, which encompass everything that I believe is needed to measure the success of an SEO campaign. So everything from the traffic that comes through to the website, the leads that come off the back of that, the keyword rankings as well, anything like that. And then also at the end of the day, revenue is a big metric as well. So depending on the business, is it a service-based business? It's sometimes a bit tougher to track revenue. So where we'd actually have to have that conversation with the client and try to get some figures, which we obviously can't show on today's Zoom. But for your e-com stuff, it's going to be a lot easier. But revenue is always that end metric, and return on investment as well. So how much are they actually putting into SEO? How much are they getting out? But on the surface level, also looking at users coming through the website, conversions, and everything like that.
So you can sort of see users, sessions, pages, duration, how long they're on there, the conversions that it's generating. So. And then this is what the conversation should be focused around month in, month out, and the fact that it's pretty black and white, whether things have moved forward for specific keywords, what's worked. If something has worked exceedingly well, let's do more of that. What's slipped? What do we need to reinvest time and effort in? What's actually generating the conversions? What are the movements? All that sort of stuff. So it all needs to be very much measured, analyzed, and then use that to inform the activities moving forward. How much does SEO cost? Because there's a pretty big range out there. Like we were talking sales before, like you can go overseas and get, sort of cheap SEO potentially that may work, may not. It really comes down to activities at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say, what are your thoughts on this, John? Being on the front line, you obviously see a lot of competitors' pricing packages, and you see how that then influences results.
I think, especially when we're getting people to buy in around the concept of SEO, and then we dig down into what are you actually doing for that money? Because I think business owners, especially nowadays, they're they're a lot more discerning in and around. I want to understand what's actually happening behind the scenes. I don't necessarily want to do it. I need to partner with someone to do that, but I need to understand what are you actually doing to get these results. So we're very open and transparent in terms of the activities that, we are creating 1,000 words of content for your website every single month. We are running a backlink strategy where we'll go out and we'll actually acquire very strategic backlinks that are going to, boost the profile and the visibility of the website within Google, where, we do citations and directory listings and Web 2.0 properties and all that sort of stuff, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into the activities every single month. If you're not clear on that, then I reckon there's a conversation around, well, what is actually happening and what are you doing behind the scenes? And then from that, it's just, well, the factors are, how competitive is the industry that you're trying to compete in? So if we look at this example here, lawyer Sydney, how many thousands of lawyers are there in Sydney compared to a very specialist lawyer? So someone who, specializes in industrial building contracts or something like that. So much easier to rank, a lot less competition. So that's definitely a factor. I think another big factor is the location that they're operating in as well. So, if you're a service-based business and you're in a small country town compared to, a big city, then there's going to be less competition. And then it's just how hard do you want to go, right? So how fast do you want the results? So you can still move things forward in a very slow, tempered, incremental fashion, or you can really go hard and get results nice and quick. And that'll, comes back to how much content you're building out and what are the resources that need to be thrown at that. Can SEO be done by AI?
No. I would say SEO can be assisted by AI, but no, it can't at all be taken over by AI. You can use it to help generate content, make your workflow a lot easier, automate certain things through your day, but no, at the end of the day, it doesn't really understand Google the way you do. It doesn't understand your business the way you do either. I would just lean on it to lend a helping hand, but no, it can't be done by AI.
Backlinks, the elusive backlinks. And it's pretty cool. You think about how the fundamental premise of Google and how it was formed in and around PageRank. So, when the guys built the search engine, came up with this proprietary concept called PageRank, and really it's just you've got your website and there's a bunch of websites linking to your website, and they built a crawler that scanned the web and measured how many links there were to people's respective websites, and then ranked them accordingly based on, it being a measure of popularity. That hasn't changed, what is it, 20 plus years on now. So there's still just a massive, massive way to move the needle. One good quality backlink can make a big impact.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I think some people in the industry debate each other about a little bit, but there was actually recently an algorithm leak, which if anyone wants to look into it, and I believe there was definitely a part that mentioned PageRank still. How much that is taken into account, obviously we don't know the exact measurement of that, but it's definitely something that is looked at by Googlebot when they are ranking a page.
I think, yeah, you even mentioned as well, John, you could be generating a huge content strategy. Your competitors can be as well. Backlinks might just be that extra bit to move the needle and put you that one step ahead.
Full transparency, we're actively out there acquiring backlinks and making sure that they're in, good locations and they match to the content that we're trying to get ranked for and all that sort of stuff. So it is definitely a big part of our strategy.
Quality over quantity, always.
Yes. Yeah. And what are the numbers around that? Because I remember you telling me this once. It's one good quality is worth 100 junk backlinks, right? Even
For sure. Yeah.
more.
If
At
you're,
least, yeah.
yeah, at least you could get thousands and thousands of just backlinks that are worth nothing, and it's not going to do anything. But
Yeah.
if you get one solid link from a proper publication that's in your location or your industry, and the in content, it's an in content link, and the content around that link is about whatever it's linking to, that's going to be all the difference compared to a bunch of cheap links.
Yeah, and I think going back to the question around what can clients do to move the needle on their SEO efforts, that's actually a really easy thing. Like maybe you're, I don't know, you're a lawyer that works with a bunch of referrers. So you've got, an accountant that refers work to you actively, and maybe a financial planner and all that sort of stuff. There's no reason why you couldn't set up some sort of, link exchange or something like that between the respective websites. And that's like, you sort of need to engineer that, right? You need to go and have the conversation and say, hey, I'll link to you if you link to me or whatever, right? So, yeah, I think they're always good things to do. What tools can I use for SEO?
So we've listed a bunch of free tools and a bunch of paid tools, but some can be both, if that makes sense. So some of those paid tools we have listed, they can also be free tools. We just think they're being used as paid tools. So some of the free stuff, the whole Google suite, so pretty much your Google Analytics, your Google Search Console. Google have their own keyword planner as well, which you can do keyword research on. It's through Google Ads. And then any Chrome extensions as well. They're really easy to turn on and off. They can give you a lot of data about a page, the speed of a page. It can show you what's the main heading on the page, how many times that main heading is used throughout the content, things like that. So Chrome extensions such as Moz, Lighthouse, and SEO Quake are really good for that. And then, of course, your paid tools, which can get quite costly, but SEMrush, Screaming Frog, and then a couple of AI tools as well, Phrase and ChatGPT. So they do have free versions. I think every single one of those paid ones have a free version, but would strongly suggest to use the paid. The free one can be a bit temperamental and not as
This is SEMrush. Really helpful to see, well, what is your site actually ranking for, different keywords, how you stack up against your competitors. There's a bunch of, there's many layers to that. Screaming Frog is more, man, this tool's been around for like how many years? Like literally, it's like stood the test of time.
Still does updates all the time too. Like they recently had a really good update where it actually integrates with other tools, other AI tools as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're a really good company. But yeah, it's
super good value too.
Totally.
You pay yearly rather than often tools are monthly, which can stack up. So you pay yearly, it makes it a bit cheaper. But basically, you can just crawl a whole website and it'll give you information on every single page. Really good tool.
Yeah, title tags, meta descriptions, H1s, and then like very quickly you can see, at a glance where issues are or what needs to be addressed and all that sort of stuff. Phrase, that's more content creation, and the good old trusty ChatGPT. Kalia, how does changing content on pages affect SEO, and what are the possible risks and challenges? Awesome question.
Love that
Great question.
Because I think this is probably something we could have actually included on what can clients do, because sometimes clients change content on a page and it actually negatively impacts that page. So it can have both pros and cons when it comes to changing content. You need to be aware of what you're changing, why you're changing it. If you're removing keywords, changing headings, or removing heading tags, anything like that, it's going to have a negative impact unless you're doing it for the better. So you just need to understand what's the keyword you're targeting on that page. And then that will be able to influence whether you should change that heading or add a keyword somewhere as well. So hopefully that answered it. But basically it can have both risks and it can have really good improvements as well if you're just refreshing a page but keeping those keywords in mind when refreshing the content.
Sure. I think one of the tips we usually say to clients as well is if it isn't broken, don't fix it. If you're ranking in position 1, just be very careful.
Had an existing site, not a very good site, and you improved my site to the first page within 5 months. So that was probably more, I think, in terms of how long it takes to get results. So that's a pretty cool outcome.
Yeah, awesome. That was a personal trainer in Geelong, for anyone wondering. So that I remember that site was quite, personal trainers can be quite competitive. There's lots of them around, but a lot of yeah, there's not going to be a huge budget in terms of like law firms and stuff like that. They're going to throw all their money into marketing.
Yeah.
And so that makes it quite competitive. So yeah, pros and cons within that.
Kalia also asked, does it have a diminishing return if you don't keep updating your SEO? If it's not specifically focused on the SEO and on other things, how frequently should we be updating the website to improve SEO?
It would not be suggested to do that ad hoc SEO work, because it can sort of over a long period of time not be super cost effective if you're stopping and starting and you're just going backwards a little bit. So then I think, how frequently should we be updating our website?
Always, every day.
As frequently as you like,
every hour.
Again, it depends. If you keep ranking in position 1 for a year after, pausing SEO work, just leave it. But I think the way it typically goes is Google releases 1 or 2 core updates minimum a year that are really going to shake things up. So I think, you're definitely going to need to sort of keep your finger on the pulse.
Brent asks, do you expect to be impacted? Do you expect SEO to be impacted with a website rebuild? This is an amazing question. How do we mitigate the impact? So say, like a site, or maybe a site is just absolutely crushing it, doing really well, but it's old, it's clunky, it doesn't look great. We want to give it a visual facelift. How do we mitigate the impact on existing SEO to make sure that it's a step forward, not a step backwards?
Big one is do a full audit of the old website. So if you're doing a rebuild, you need to do a full audit of the old website, understand all the parts of that website that are the pros of the website, and then which parts are the cons of the website, because anything that's working well, you need to make sure that's brought across, whether that is a user experience thing as well. So it could just be the way a menu is structured or something like that, or where that call to action is, which is really going to impact conversions. Or maybe there's some bad stuff. So maybe there's some old content. It's a bit outdated. The page isn't ranking. So you don't want to bring that across. You'd want to actually update that. And then lastly, from just a more of technical perspective, you need to make sure there's 301 redirects in place as well. If you're changing URLs or if you're changing the domain name. So I could go on forever, but at a very broad level, I think that covers some of the things. I think it's very important for this. I've seen it go wrong many times. We've had clients come to us from other agencies, and maybe that rebuilder hasn't really worked. They didn't do the right things and stuff just goes straight down. So it's very important to either consult someone that knows their SEO or just do your own research and make sure you're across it all before doing that.
Yeah. Even with the design and stuff like that, like every design that sort of we put through always comes across SEO's desk. And we sort of, just check how many elements are being added to it. Is it going to slow that load speed and stuff like that? Everything sort of comes into play.
Yeah. And that sort of ties into our, integrated approach, where we see a lot of like specialist digital marketers, where like a client will go and build a website and then they'll like go over to this SEO agency and say, all right, I want you to SEO it. And it's sort of like, nah, it's too late. Like the structure's all wrong, the content sucks, and it's not, you should have, the SEO should have been thought of from the outset, pre-built. So that's the power of getting someone to do it from start to finish in that integrated approach through the lens of an SEO strategy. Kelly asks, what are your non-negotiables when it comes to SEO? Content's
obviously a big one. Making sure there's consistent content going onto that website is very important. I'm just trying to think if there's any cases where we wouldn't do content. Same thing with backlinks. I don't think there's many cases where you wouldn't want quality backlinks going to a website either. So I'd probably say that's a non-negotiable. And then reviews. Reviews are a big one, and that's something we've touched on, which is a little bit out of our control as well, as it's up to the client. It's up to you guys to really get those, but I think that's a big non-negotiable. Having those reviews is going to impact that conversion rate a lot. You can get people to the website, but they might not convert if you only have 3 reviews compared to your competition that has 50 plus reviews.
I think Ollie sort of touched on it as well, conversion optimization as well. So obviously SEO is going to drive the traffic to it, but if your website doesn't look good or if it's not functional, the traffic's not going to convert. So I think that's probably one of the most important things to obviously consistent content to get your rankings high, everything else as well. But you need to make sure it's got that form there on the page or, unique selling points to get people to click essentially. Yeah, for me, it's just like spammy stuff. And I actually don't see it that much anymore. But like a couple of years ago, you'd always get you'd inherit these sites and you're like,
hang on a sec, there's like 500 just junk pages that exist in the background here. And it's literally like same content. They've done some bulk search and replace on focus keyword, and like it worked in the short term, but like I think generally they get penalized anyway, and Google flashes that sort of junky stuff out. So that'd be a non-negotiable, more of that black hat style stuff. I like this question here. It's about what are some green flags you can tell us when it comes to choosing a web designer in regards to SEO? The question is focused around like building a website, because you've mentioned web designer. Um, you want to make sure that literally from the outset, the discussion is in and around. Obviously, SEO is important. You've obviously identified that you want to do SEO. There's opportunities there. So if the discussion is not around keyword research, the opportunities that are in Google, and then matching that keyword research to the proposed architecture of the site, and then who's going to be optimizing the content as part of that process, unfortunately, the project is probably going to be a failure, or you're going to be underwhelmed with the outcomes or the results. So,
I think another good one to add to that as well. Most web designers will have an Our Work section or a portfolio of websites they've done. Take a look at those as well, because I know, for example, our site, 5x5, we have a long history of websites we've worked with, developed, and that have all been quite successful. If you then compare that to some other agencies, potentially, that's where you can see that point of difference. So yeah, that's something I would always look at as well.
Cool.
Yeah, plug it into an external SEO tool and sort of check the traffic. If it went like that after it launched, good indicator.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna use that in my next sales conversation. That's awesome. Ingrid, you just said SEO is cost effective as opposed to what else? My answer to that would be like Google Ads, I guess, potentially, or
maybe
Google Ads,
more
traditional media, everything like that.
Traditional marketing. Anything that's sometimes is quite costly and you can't measure it that well. So like we said, any sort of radio advertising, anything like that, where you're not really sure on how it's performing.
I often find, so like we had a client, very large home builder here in Queensland, based on the dollars that they were spending with us to do SEO and the results that we generated for them in terms of the lead flow through their website and the average sale value, like the disproportionate, insane return on investment was through the roof.
Yeah.
Like just wild. So depends on the product, depends on the industry, but that's the impact that something like that can have. Nicole, how do we integrate SEO into blogs? Good question.
Yeah.
Great question.
Could do a full webinar on just that question.
I think we have.
We might.
I think we have actually. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that come into it when you're integrating SEO or optimizing a blog. I'll try not to go into too much depth, but obviously starting with making sure that that is something your clients would be searching about or something that they would find valuable. So doing that based off keyword research, competitor research, or just what you hear from your clients as well. So then let's say you've got that topic, you then have the article, make sure you talk about that question within the content quite a lot and answer it in a lot of depth. So the thing that Google looks at is helpful content. So you want to make sure it's helpful. Don't just provide a one-sentence answer. Don't write 2,000 words just on some random topic that sort of has something to do with what's being talked about. So just making sure it's really answering it, and then using those structured headings as well, structuring your headings correctly from a technical perspective. So using those H1 tags, H2 tags, H3 tags, optimizing the meta titles and descriptions. And then of course, after the blog launches, you want to make sure there's good backlinks coming through to it or internal links from other parts of the website. Hopefully that sort of answered it in a broad way.
Oh, you just nailed it, Ollie.
I think on that as well, if you need to check if it's going to rank well, take a look, chuck that keyword into the search yourself, have a look at the search volume, the headings and stuff like they're using, and just try and aim for something similar to that to sort of get you started.
Oh, before I forget, we have got what do we got? We have got an SEO audit. If you want, like hopefully you feel confident that we know what we're talking about. If you would like a complimentary audit on your website, scan that QR code. We will send this via email as well. If that's something you are interested in, that'll take you to a form. Fill out your details, and we can come back to you just with some observations, some analysis in terms of potentially where the gaps are or what you could improve, and we can go from there.